Between 1979 and 1981, several young African American boys went missing. Their bodies would be found several days later in either farmers' fields, surrounding forest, or the Chattahoochee River. Many of the locals and even police thought it was members of the Ku Klux Klan. However, this was far from the truth. This is the Atlanta child murders. The Atlanta child murders, known locally as the Missing and Murdered Children case, were a series of murders in the summer of 1979 until the spring of 1981. Over the 2-year period, a minimum of 28 African American children and adolescents and adults were killed. Atlanta native Wayne Bertram Williams, also African American and was age 23 at the time, was arrested and convicted of the two of the murders. In the summer of 1979, Edward Hope Smith, age 14, and Alfred Evans, age 14 as well, disappeared for 4 days apart. Both their bodies were found on July 28th. Their confirmed deaths were the beginning of the series of murders believed to be committed by the Atlanta child killer. So called because it was popularly assumed that there was only one perpetrator. The next murder victim, Milton Harvey, was also 14, disappeared on September 4th, 1979, while traveling to the bank to pay a credit card bill for his mother. His body was later recovered. On October 21st, 1979, Yusuf Bell went to the store to buy a snuff for a neighbor. A witness said she saw Yusuf getting into a blue car before he disappeared. His body was found on November 8, 1979, in the abandoned E.P. Johnson Elementary School. He was still wearing the brown cutoff shorts he was last seen in. He'd been strangled. The police did not immediately link this to the disappearance of the previous killings. The next victim, 12-year-old Angel Lenar, was the first female victim of the killer. She disappeared March 4th, 1980, and was found 6 days later strangled, tied to a tree, and possibly sexually assaulted. On March 11th, 1980, Jeffrey Matus disappeared while on an errand for his mother. On June 9th, Chris Richardson went missing on his way to the local pool. And on June 22nd and June 23rd, 7-year-old Latanya Wilson and 10-year-old Aaron Weish went missing. The extending wave of disappearances and murders panicked parents and children in the city, and the government struggled to ensure the safety of the children. Nonetheless, apparently linked murders continued. The murders of the two children, Anthony Carter and Errol Terwell, occurred in July 1980. Between August and November 1980, 5 more killings took place. There were no known victims during the month of December. All victims had been African American children between the ages of 9 and 14, and most had been asphyxiated. The murders continued into 1981. The first known victim in the new year was Luby Gator, who disappeared on January 3rd. Gator's body was found on February 5th. Gator's friend, Terry Pugh, also went missing in January, and an anonymous caller told the police where to find Pugh's body. In February, 2 murders occurred, believed linked to the others. In March, 4 Atlanta-linked murders took place, including that of Eddie Duncan, the first adult victim. In April, Larry Rogers was murdered, as well as an adult ex-convict, John Porter, and Jimmy Ray Payne. After William Barrett went missing on May 16, 1981, his body was found close to his home. The last victim added to this list was Nathaniel Carter, a 27-year-old male. Investigator Chet Jettlinger created a map of the victims' locations. Despite the difference in age, the victims fell with the same geographic parameters. They were connected to the Memorial Drive and 11 major streets in the area. As the news media divulged that the physical evidence was being gathered from the corpses, the FBI privately profiled that the killer would dump the next victim into a body of water to remove any evidence. Some victims had already been put into the river. Police staked out the James Jackson Parkway South Cobb Bridge over the Chattahoochee River between Atlanta and Fulton County in suburban Cobb County to monitor suspicious activity that might have been connected to the murders. On the last night of their stakeout on May 22nd, 1981, detectives got their first major break in the case when an officer had heard a splash in the water beneath the bridge. He saw a white 1970 Chevrolet station wagon slowly driving away from the bridge. An Atlanta police patrol car and a second unmarked car carrying federal agents first followed and then stopped the station wagon about a half mile from the bridge. The driver was 23-year-old Wayne Bertram Williams, a failed music promoter and freelance photographer. The Chevrolet wagon belonged to his parents. Dog hair and fiber evidence recovered from the rear of the vehicle were later major factors in the police building a case against Williams, as they matched his dog hair and carpet in his parents' house. During questioning, Williams said he was on his way to audition a woman named Cheryl Johnson as a singer. Williams claimed she lived in the nearby Cobb County town of Smyrna. Police did not find any record of a Cheryl Johnson, nor Williams' claimed appointment with her. 2 days later, on May 24th, the naked body of Nathaniel Cater, who was 27, was found floating downriver just a few miles from the bridge where Williams had stopped his car. The river. Medical examiner determined the body had been in the river for no more than 36 to 48 hours. Based on this evidence, including hearing the splash, police believe that Williams had killed Cater and disposed of the body while the police were nearby. Several pieces of evidence led the police to consider Williams the prime suspect. On June 21, 1981, they arrested him. A grand jury indicted him for the first-degree murder in the deaths of Nathaniel Cater and Jimmy Ray Payne, aged 22. The trial date was set for early 1982. Wayne Bertram Williams was born May 27, 1958. He was identified as the key suspect in the Atlanta child murders, and he was found guilty of the murder of 2 adult men. After his conviction, the Atlanta police declared an additional 23 of the 29 child murders solved. Williams was born and raised in Atlanta's Dixie Hills neighborhood, from which many of the Atlanta child murders victims would later disappear. An aspiring DJ, he ran an amateur radio station from his parents' house and is well known in the area for scouting local musicians, particularly teenagers. He also had a reputation in the community as a liar who invented impressive stories about himself, the details of which were too outlandish to be true. He was rumored to be gay, but this has never been proven. His only encounter with the law prior to becoming a murder suspect was in 1976 when he was arrested but never convicted for impersonating a police officer. Williams held a press conference outside his parents' home proclaiming his innocence. He was nevertheless arrested on June 21, 1981 for the murders of Cater and Jimmy. Williams' trial began on June 6, 1982. The persecution's case relied on the abundance of circumstantial evidence. During the 2-month trial, persecutors matched 19 different sources of fibers from Williams' environment: his bedspread, bathroom, gloves, clothes, carpet, dog, and an unusual trilobal carpet fiber to a number of victims. There's also eyewitness testimony placing Williams with different victims, bloodstains from victims matching blood in Williams' car, and testimony that he was a pedophile attracted to young black boys. Williams himself took the stand, but alienated the jury by becoming angry and combative during a single instance. Williams never recovered from the single outburst, and on February 27th, the jury deliberated for 10 hours before finding him guilty of murdering Cater and Payne. He was then sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of life imprisonment. Former FBI agent John E. Douglas wrote in his book, Mindhunter, that while he believes Williams committed many of the murders, he did not commit them all. He added that he believes that law enforcement has some idea of who the other killers are and that it isn't a single offender, and the truth is unpleasant. Many people believe that it was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. It was revealed that Charles T. Sanders, a white supremacist affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan who had been investigated for a role in the child murders, once praised the crimes in a secretly recorded conversation. Although Sanders did not claim responsibility for any of the deaths, Williams' lawyers believe the evidence will help their bid for a new trial. Sanders told an informant for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in 1981, recording that the killer had wiped out 1,000 future generations of quote-for-quote N-words. Police dropped the probe into the KKK's possible involvement after 7 weeks when Sanders and 2 of his brothers passed a lie detector test. Williams took 3 lie detector tests and failed all of them. Also was found to have How to Elude a Lie Detector Test book in his house. How's it going today, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow Melodites? So I just kind of wanted to give some closing thoughts on this. Please keep the comments respectful. This is still technically an unsolved case, as there are still murders that aren't solved. Williams was only convicted of 2, and however, John E. Douglas, the person who did profile Williams, says that he's, a cold-blooded sociopath. It's just, it's dead obvious that he murdered some of the young boys. There's also a lot of controversy around this, saying that, most of the government basically kind of just chose a random black man and pinned it all on him. And the reality is, even if that's the case, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty ironclad one. It's really, really hard to debate it. And, I think it's also a little unfair to just kind of jump to the race card. But however, though, if that's your opinion and that's your opinion, you're more than entitled to it. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I know that I definitely probably said a few things this past minute here that you don't agree with, but that's completely okay. I'm very much a progressive person. I'm more than open to hear your thoughts and opinions. So, however, though, please keep the comments respectful, and I hope you guys have a mellow day. Like, comment, and subscribe.